Good morning. Good morning. Who is here with me? I want to make sure you can. That was me playing peekaboo, just making sure something was okay. So who's here with me? Martha. Hello. I didn't see you in class yesterday, Martha. Yeah, I'm excited to be here. It's nice to get back on track, right? It's nice to have some continuity, some rhythms in our lives, some routines, some behaviors. It's really nice to have that. Oh, wow. I was just noticing, because I think I uploaded your testimonial on my website, and you said your birthday was in January. So happy birthday, Martha. Wow. That's an accomplishment, right? Your package is now that age. Oh, wow. Okay, retired. I can't even imagine what that means. I'm just in a different phase of my life. I'm in this new phase of creation in my life, birthing something new after birthing children and raising children. This is now my new creation. Lauren, let me see. I guess I got to put my glasses on. Hello, Lauren. So nice to have you here. And Rosemary, good morning. Happy New Year to you as well. Lynn, Happy New Year. Kathy, good morning. Oh, it's so nice because many of you I know from working with you in person. Others I have met during this process. I've seen some of you. So this is really nice. And then Nancy's here. Good morning. Oh, is it really? So is my audio cracking and I keep freezing? Oh, man. Let me see. Let me do a speed test. I don't know what this is going to do if I speed test this while I'm on YouTube Live. I've never done this before. So hopefully nothing happens. We do have a new system and we are going to, so I've got a great download speed, which is not important for YouTube. The important thing for YouTube is the upload speed. So far I know I have a good download speed. Okay, actually, so my upload speed's at 6, which is double what it was when I first started this whole thing. So we'll see what happens. Who else is here? Claudia, good morning. Nice to have you here as well. And there you are with Martha. All right, so nice to have you guys here. So I really think that it requires a deep exhalation to 2020 from our bodies and minds. And okay. Let me see. Reconnecting. Okay, so I know I just froze. Yeah, I know I just froze because it said that. So I'm really sorry about that. I don't know. We did get a new system, and here's the thing. My mother-in-law is here right now with us, so we're going to switch it over, but we want to make sure that all the different places that all of us are staying will be reached by this new system. So we'll see what happens. We'll try to implement that. Yeah, she's your BFF. That's okay. That's so beautiful. All right. So if any of you want to tell me anything in particular that's going on, I'd love that. I've mentioned this before. Usually the way that I would construct the class for the day is either the energetics that I felt existed in the group. So when I walk in, people will come up to me and either tell me issues in their tissues or even what they say. So whether it's that they're telling me something's going on in their body, there's also something maybe that's going on in their lives. So I can kind of gather what the group dynamic is and the group energy. So really I would create my classes according to needs of people in the class or the energetic dynamics of the group. And so it's been interesting because even though honestly, I still pick that up when we're in this area here. Hi, Carolyn, nice to have you here. So if there was anything in particular that was going on with you, I will tell you that what really stood out for me last year is the upper back, head, and neck issues that many experienced. And that is par for the course, because with this lifestyle that we all have now, which is typically more sedentary, and there's also the aspect of a much more forward or anterior head carriage, because we're on technology, or we are cooking more for ourselves, or involved in activities that there would be that forward presentation of the body. And so there was a lot more shoulder and upper back and neck issues that people seem to be having. Oh, well, tennis elbow. So I'm going to say, Rosemary, that if you've got tennis elbow, that's a good thing if you're playing tennis. So if you're out being active and playing tennis and being with other people, isn't that great? So I will tell you that I actually had tennis elbow as well. I used to play tennis 5 days a week for years. And this was at a time in my life where I was definitely more active in my life and younger. So I was definitely very strong hormonal drive. So I was very competitive. So I played pretty hard. When I had tennis elbow, so if you do have the tennis elbow back here, I've been told that you're a more advanced player. So for those that get the tennis elbow here, I had mine here. And that's because this rotational action, which is that when we do this, it's not a wrist action. This is actually these two bones in the forearm rotating. So this action here, used quite often if you're playing tennis and you got to really, if you're whipping, getting that spin on the ball. Oh, and Carolyn's here. Carolyn was on my tennis team. But anyway, so I had tennis elbow, and the way that I finally got rid of it was, first of all, not using it. So when you have tendonitis of any sort, rest is the best. But actually active release therapy, is it ART, where I would move my hand in this rotational movement, and the girl that worked on me, the soft tissue specialist, used her fingers to actually break up any kind of calcifications that happened on the tendon, the end part of the muscle, as the muscle was repairing. So maybe TMI, but maybe not. All right, so we will stretch the wrist. We'll get to that as well. That'll be good. Not from tennis. Okay, Rosemary, so think about, what are you doing where this is happening? This here. So if it is this tendon here, that's a rotational movement of ulna radius. So anyway, all right, so I was going to take today to make this be a overall release. So a lot of stretching today and focusing on some muscular strengthening, but in a really slow, methodical way. I taught a class yesterday, Yoga for Osteoporosis, and although I have my own practice, when I show up in class, I might do things that I'm not normally doing, and my hips felt it yesterday. So I realized that it's really important to go slow and steady to win the race. So with that said, let's do this. So, all right. So for today's practice, I would like you to have access to a block, a strap, and a blanket. And find something that represents these if you don't have them. And then, of course, I know I've said this before, but I really recommend that you get these things, because having your own home practice is something I believe we should all do for the rest of our lives. So whether we show up to a class that's guided, which is a really nice thing to do, or we find the time throughout our day to add movement into our lives. And I want to say something that yesterday I was listening to Dr. Lippman, who's one of the experts in the aging, in the field of aging. And he was talking about the need for micro movements throughout the day, which is what I always say, is that I've heard the term yoga snacks, and I hate to relate yoga to food like that, but really to take these daily movement habits and add them into our lives, small, and he called it micro movements. He said he's 66, and he said that when he gets on the ground to play with his grandkids, he realizes the limitations in his joints. So today's practice is going to be very movement-based, in joint movement to secrete fluids, but also to release the potential for tightness to come into the body, which really exists on a real deep physiological biochemical layer. So without getting too complicated there. And it's funny because a couple of you in this class are actually nurses, retired nurses. Well, retired now anyway, for one of you. Okay. All right. So let's come, actually, before we come down onto the ground, can you come into a seated position of some sort? This is my desired. If you can still bend your hips and knees, I recommend that you always try to keep these ranges of motion in your body. So if you're somebody that has this ability to sit like this, sometimes putting something underneath the knees or in between the buttocks, either at the buttock area with the and the heels, putting something there, or even coming closer to the knee joint to be supportive. So you could put yourself on pillows, blankets, something to be supportive. If you have this ability, please try to maintain it. For those of you that do not, don't worry. There's other options. The other option would be to come into a seated position like this, either crisscrossing the legs or putting one in front of the other. Just to set this intention to actually make this be the time where actually we're getting ready to practice self-care, yoga, through movement, through integration of the mind, the body, and the soul. So bring yourself to this moment right here, right now, in whatever position you choose to sit in. And let's close the eyes and let the hands go on top of the thighs. And when you close the eyes, you're going to go into a space of feeling and noticing, either noticing that the position you chose is comfortable or not, and then noticing aspects of your body, maybe tightness somewhere, or maybe it just feels really good and nice. Maybe there's a calm sensation that comes over you when you do close your eyes. So whatever you're aware of, be very aware of you sitting here on whatever you're sitting on. And right here at this place, so gathering the awareness. With the eyes closed, go ahead and take your arms in the space around you, as if you were a kindergarten teacher trying to round up 20 5-year-olds, and you were trying to get this one here and this one from over here to do a big group hug. So I want you to take your hands around your space, from down below, from the sides, from up above, from behind you, from in front of you, and I want you to grab all of that. Even make a feeling that you feel the wind coming towards you. And then you're going to bring your hands onto your thighs. So you brought everything to you right here, right now. Bring your awareness to your nose. Take a couple of breaths here with the intention of now is the time for you. Maybe you can go into your body and feel your heart. Or just know as it moves. Take one more breath. Let's take the hands. Let's rub the hands. And then cover the eyes. Rub the hands a lot so you feel heat generating in the palms. And then bring the hands to cover the eyes. You can let the heel of the hand touch the cheekbones. And then gently blink the eyes open. And then go ahead and bring your hands down. So if we were driving the car 100 miles an hour, we cannot just put on the brakes and stop. And so the beginning part of this practice, we're going to use a restorative pose to do a little postural correction and to ground the mental energy. And it's nice as a first step to actually take this time out to do this intention where you bring your awareness to this moment using the body, using movement, and then this visualization of gathering can be a wonderful way to start to get all the aspects of you, the stuff that we see and the stuff that we don't see, the subtle layers of yourself. And there's a lot of beautiful practices in many different traditions around the world that actually use this movement to bring towards themselves something. I know that there's a candle lighting service that's done on Friday nights for Shabbat in Judaism, where you usher in the day of rest, the Sabbath. So you bring in this light source into your body, and many other traditions have this bringing in something we can't see that we bring to ourselves. So it's a really nice ritualistic way to bring yourself to this moment. So we're going to come down onto our backs now to ground our physical energy into our body. I'd like you to have a blanket for the top of your mat. You could have a blanket for and if you have or osteopenia, when you come down to the floor, turn to the side. nice and flat. You don't round it. And then for those of you, you can use your core on the way down, really contracting the core, doing a little bit here, but make sure you minimize this in the body. This is unsafe. So coming down, keeping your spine in a neutral position. Then you're going to come all the way down onto the ground. If you have something that you could put on your belly for a little reference of the breath, you get a block, or a blanket is really nice, something with some weight to it so you could feel it. I'd like you to begin with your knees bent and your feet are flat. And then actually, I'd like you to make sure there's a real solid foundation in the center of the pelvic area. So you may want to lift your pelvis up for a second and lengthen your tailbone away from you. So this is actually going to bring in a little posterior tilt to the pelvis, and then place the sacrum and the top edge of the pelvis down onto the floor. This is going to add a little length for the lumbar section. And then place whatever it is you have on your belly. And then the hands will go down alongside the body. Now you're going to place your head, the back of your head on the floor, and make sure that the blanket, whatever it is you're using, is only on your head and neck, not on your upper body. And then I'd like you to create length in your spine and space from the lower ribs on up. So you're lifting the lower ribs away from the top of the pelvis, creating space. So you may need to use your arms as you lift your body up and bring some space in your spine, and then slide the shoulder blades towards each other. So the shoulder blades are on the floor. We're just trying to bring in a little alignment in our body. You may even feel here some tension. And if you've gone to a place where there's too much tension, especially in that posterior tilt of the pelvis, notice what's appropriate. You may need to soften a little to release tension. Allow the feet to be wider than the body, the knees fall in towards each other. And then let's take the arms out to the sides. I'd like the backs of the hands to rest on the floor. And depending on how much tightness you have in this upper body area, this is rotational muscles of the shoulder. There's also some spinal movement stretch that'll take place here. So the backs of the hands are on the floor. You may need to have your arms down a little lower and less bent in your elbows. And then for those of you that want a little bit more, I like to keep my fingernails on the floor as I bend my elbows a little deeper. So I add a little more tension with the flexion of the elbow. And I feel in my body stretching. I'd like you to notice what you're experiencing, what you're feeling, and is it equal on both sides? That's also interesting. And for some, there may be some scoliosis in the spine, a little asymmetry or dysfunctional alignment in the spine, or issues in your tissues on one side versus the other. So noticing what you notice here. And then let's bring yourself up a little higher. So there may be tension created there. And then you could see if you could come a little higher into a scarecrow arm position. So if it feels okay for you to be in that lower position, stay there. And then if it feels okay for you to come up to the upper. So choose what is appropriate for you. And then let's keep the mouth closed, breathing in through the nose. Bring your awareness to your head. Lift your head up, lengthen your neck. So your head is reaching as far away from your body as it can because it's attached. The chin is parallel to the floor, and then slightly tuck the chin down towards the chest and back towards the body. So there's even more correction in the curve of the cervical spine. At this point in my own body, with all of the lengthening and positioning I just put my body in, I can feel in my own body where I have tightness on one side over the other, or where some of my dysfunctional patterns are showing up in my body from, in my case, from having one hip replacement and one regular hip, and all of the dysfunction or issues that causes to show up in the rest of my body. So really deeply increasing your interoception or body awareness can be very therapeutic for healing our bodies for knowing where we need to add more movement or more range of motion, what needs to be strengthened or what needs to be lengthened. So let's connect to our breath now. Bring your awareness to your nostrils. And if you have a block or a blanket on your belly, begin to notice the movement of whatever it is that's on your belly. And your goal is to get it to move. So this will ensure that you are breathing deeply down to the diaphragm, and that translates to the lower belly area. And see as you breathe down to the belly, if you could breathe down into the pelvis. And see if you could breathe in and back. So you're breathing backward towards the spine. Stay with your breath. Feel the block moving. Feel the diaphragm pressing down towards the pelvis. If you'd like to explore what it's like to straighten your legs, go slowly, moving one leg at a time, noticing if that brings in tension or relief. I'd like to say tread lightly and with awareness to move thoughtfully in your body as you place your limbs and place your body into different positions. Breathing down to the belly. Let's take 5 deep, long, slow breaths and see if you could stay with your awareness on your breath and noticing what you notice as you breathe. When you finish your last breath, let the breath go. Bring your awareness to your fingers as you start to bend the fingers. Make sure you're bending the top of the fingers, the middle of the fingers, and where the fingers attach to the palm. And then let's open and close the fists. Open and close. Bring your awareness to your legs. If your legs are straight, bring them a little closer towards each other and point the toes strongly and then flex the feet. If your knees are bent and putting your legs straight was uncomfortable, go ahead and let your knees just go gently side to side. Pointing the feet, flex, and then let's open the legs out to the side so the pinky toes are trying to come closer to the floor, and then bring the big toes towards each other and then out to the side. Try to keep the legs straight here. This is a hip joint movement, internal and external rotation. And then let's take the arms overhead. Legs are straight away from us unless you've kept your knees bent. Palms face each other, thumbs touch the floor. If you can, so the goal is to get towards the floor. It doesn't matter if you reach there or not. Reach your arms up. And then let's emulate the walking. So we're going to stretch completely one side by sliding one heel and one foot away and stretching the arm overhead. And then let's stretch the other side. So stretch that arm away, flex the foot, slide the heel away, create as much stretch as possible. Feel the lower ribs and the top of the pelvis pulling away from each other. And hopefully you feel a stretch in this part of your body when you do this. Feel this nice lengthening your body. And then let's go ahead and take that blanket or block or whatever you had on your belly off to the side. You're going to take your arms out to the side like letter T and then bend your elbows. Let's walk the feet over to the right side. Keep the legs straight. Take the left leg on top of the right leg, so right at the ankle joint. Then you're going to take the right arm directly overhead and bring the left arm overhead, and then hold on to the left wrist. So keep your arms close to the floor. Keep your hands close to the floor. Keep the upper left shoulder blade and back on the floor. You're not lifting the back off the floor. You're holding onto the left wrist, and you're drawing and stretching the left wrist up towards the wall behind you, and then you're bending over to the right. Keep the back on the floor. Maybe just the shoulder blade hovers about an inch or two off the floor, but you're not adding rotation into your spine. This is a lateral flexion position, stretching the side body. You're going to try to open up the side of the left spine. And so you're going to look like, they call it bananasana, like a banana. Your body would look like a banana. If somebody were looking from above. Your feet are over to the right corner edge of the mat, and you're trying to draw that left wrist over towards the right edge of the mat. So just feel in your body, create as much stretch as you can, stretching your tissue, your wrapping. Take one more breath. And then let's bring ourselves back to center. So you need to create this stretch in your body. This could be very simple, or it could be a little more intense depending on how much stretch you bring into this. You're going to walk your legs now, heel by heel, all the way over to the left corner of the mat. Lift the right leg on top of the left, crossing right near the ankle joint. Then keep that right arm close to the floor as you hold on to the right wrist. And then you draw your wrist up towards the wall behind you and then over to the left. So you're elongating your right side. Feel the stretch as the right lower ribs, the entire ribs, not just the front, but the back as well and the sides. Draw away from the top of the right pelvis, creating a stretch. Keep your arms straight here. Don't bend your right arm. You're not trying to go crazy there. Keep your right arm as straight as you can as you draw that arm bone up and over to the left. And then, of course, paying attention to your joints. So for those with shoulder issues, notice if this does anything to the shoulder. And I want you to try to keep that right shoulder blade close to the floor because you're not adding rotation into that upper spine. Take 2 more breaths here. And then let's go ahead and release. Bring your knees into a bent knee position. Let's draw the right knee into the chest. Go slowly here. One of the muscles that's attached to the right upper leg bone is also attached to your low back, so it's important to move slow. Let's hold on to the front of the shin and then explore taking the left leg straight. Go slow. For some of you, having the left leg straight may cause too much tension somewhere, whether that's in the low back or in the hip flexor groin area. So just notice what you notice here, what feels appropriate for you. Draw that knee in as deep as you can. So you're drawing the knee in. Feel what you feel here in the front of the hip. We're adding deep knee and hip flexion. See what's appropriate here. This is a nice way to keep that flexion in the knee and in the hip without compressive force from above and weight bearing, which is a little easier for many. And then let's go ahead and hold on behind the thigh. So clasp the hands. You're holding on behind that knee joint or that upper thigh. And then draw the knee deep, diagonally up and over towards your right armpit. So you draw that leg in pretty deep if you can. And then press the top of the right thigh up against the low belly. So the abdominal area of the body is where the majority of the lymphatic vessels and nodes is in the abdominal area. So we're going to use compressive force here. Press the top thigh near the lower right belly. And now I'd like you to bring breath down to that area, to the lower right part of your body. So think about your right hip joint and take a couple of deep breaths down there. Mouth is closed. Breathe in and out through the nose. So you feel the right low belly pressing into the top right thigh. And then let's go ahead and release. Let's unbend and bend. Go slow here. Try to keep the upper right leg bone stationary. So don't let that upper right leg bone move. And what I observe when I work with people is this movement, when the upper leg moves, and it's really a limitation in the flexion of the knee joint. It's mostly the hip doing the action. I like to isolate this into the knee joint. So just the knee is actually doing the flexion and extension movement. And then let's hold on to the kneecap with the hands. So really hold on here. And you're going to do circular pattern here. This is a ball and a socket joint. Let's lubricate this hip. You could take the left hand out to the left. And if the knee being straight, this leg being straight doesn't feel good, you could bend that leg. So we're actually taking care of two different sides of our body, contracting the psoas on one side, lengthening it on the other. And let's go in the other direction. Go as big as you can in your circle here, stretching the muscles of the hip. Then bringing your hand onto the outside of the knee, outside of the right leg. Hold on to the leg first and let go of the tension of holding. So feel how there's a little deep release when you do hold on with your hand, because the muscles get a little break there. And I'd like us to then come into the adductor, the inner thigh stretch. So bring your knee out to the side. And there's an adductor stretch, an inner thigh stretch happening here. The arm may be able to go to the floor, or maybe you need to come a little lower on your leg and hold your leg, depending on how much tightness you have in your body. Then take your left hand, place your left hand on top of your left hip bone. So gently press the left hip towards the floor to keep the left side stabilized as you lengthen the right leg out to the side. Take one more breath. And then let's bring yourself back up to center. Let's take the left hand on slightly the outside of the right knee, and the right hand is on the floor. And then let's bring the right knee at first just over a little bit so you feel some isolated stretch here on the hip area. And then let's take the foot on top of the thigh, bring both hands out to the side, and let's add a little bit of rotation. Go slow. You're doing rotation now, and you are in the outside of your hip. So see how this feels on the outside of the hip. The right foot is on top of the left leg, maybe near the knee joint, maybe a little lower for you if you have limitations in your range of motion in your joints. Arms are out to the side. Try to keep the right shoulder blade on the floor. You may feel some stretch here in the upper right side of the body. The knee is moving to the side. If you'd like to actually add a little assist here by taking the left hand on that right knee, and then create space between the top of your right waist and the bottom of your right ribs. So make sure that there's not there's a protective aspect of the body, and there may be contraction right here. So create space in your belly, in your right side waist. Feel that you're moving that top pelvic area away from you, and it's a muscular action. And it takes a while to develop that interoception. Hopefully, many of you or most of you have that. And when you focus your attention here, you're going to limit that pulling and torquing on the lower spine. And so it can be a little relieving if you bring your awareness here, creating space. So it's not about letting the tushy fly off the floor. It's about keeping the back rib cage on the floor, letting the pelvis tilt over to the left, and then creating space in that lower right. I hope you're able to experience this and feel this. And I hope that I'm guiding you to find this in your body, because it feels yummy and it's very effective for health in our joints, health in our spine, and this body awareness of rotation. Take one more breath. And then bring yourself back to center. Let's bring ourselves back up. Go ahead and bend the left leg. Push your feet into the floor so that you lift your body off the floor, and then place your body back down on the floor. So this is the sacrum, the base of the spine, placing yourself down. Now let's come to the other side. So you're going to bring the left knee in. This pose is called Apanasana, also known as wind releasing pose, because it does have a therapeutic aspect of helping aid digestion. And so in one hand, it aids digestion in our physical body, especially when we do that compression, but it also can help to digest emotional aspects and our energetic self. And so for stress releasing, this can actually be a really powerful position to be in as well. Now you can explore straightening the right leg. And when you do, you don't just throw it into its position. You unbend the knee, you move the heel away from you, you lengthen the leg out of the socket, and then let it rest on the ground, lengthening now the psoas on the right side, contracting the psoas on the left side. Then you're going to hold on to the front of the knee, drawing that leg in as deep as you can. Go slow here. You're going to feel maybe something on that right groin area. So this is to free up the sitting position that we find ourselves in, and it's to help increase the range of motion and the mobility in our hip area, in our pelvis, in our lower body, independently of our upper body. And this can be therapeutic for hip joints, for the spine, the joints of the spine, for knees, and then everything below, so the ankles and the feet. Draw the knee in as deep as you can. Let's take deep breaths down to the lower left side of the belly. So you feel that low belly pressing up against the top of the left thigh. Take one more breath. Unbending the leg. Let's take the hands underneath as we unbend the knee, right on the back of the thigh, and the hands are clasped. Now, if you can, draw the knee in and diagonally up towards the left armpit. Go slow. This will accentuate the stretch in that groin area of the opposite side, maybe. So we all have different areas in our body. Make sure that your left side body doesn't get scrunched when you do this. So try to make this be exclusively a leg motion, and try not to let the top of the left pelvic area move closer to the left lower ribs. So scrunching up the waist, be careful there. Draw that knee in nice and deep. And then take one more breath. Go ahead and release that. Bring the leg back to more of a relaxed position. Now we're going to move the hamstring muscle. So you're lengthening and contracting the hamstring muscle. You're flexing the knee joint. So we're secreting fluids in the knee joint. Notice the tracking of the knee, that the patella or the knee bone points towards the wall behind you. And then you're actually flossing the nerves and the pathway that the nerves come off of the spine and down the buttock area and to the lower limbs, this actually can be very therapeutic for the pathway, opening up the pathway of nerves. So nerve flossing is the term that was used when I learned this from a physical therapist. Then let's take the left hand on top of the left knee, bring the right hand out to the side. When you hold on, remember to get that release at first. So you're actually holding on with this hand to allow the release to happen in the muscles. So there's a softening and a relaxation that comes into the hip joint. And then we're able to articulate that joint in a circular pattern. So the visual here is at the top of the hip. This top bone is like a lemon that's sitting inside of a teacup. It's a deep set bone in a joint. So if you think about a lemon inside of a teacup, that's a good visual here for this hip joint. And then you're moving it around in circles. And especially because we're actually assisting with the arm, we're letting some of the bigger muscles that do a lot of the movements stop contracting, and then we can start to stretch some of the other tissue in the hips. And let's go in the other direction. So slowing down the practice, doing some deeper work, maybe some areas that don't always get focus. And because we are in a seated position so much, there's a lot of tension here. And then on a deeper layer, our stress response layer, our reactivity to life. The psoas is an emotional muscle and a muscle of protection. It brings a protective position into the body. So all of the stuff that we subject ourselves to subtly, there's a deep stress response held in our body, a lot of constant chronic contraction. So this is our opportunity to release, to let go of the tension. Bring yourself to a neutral position and take the hand on the outside of the leg. So again, when you hold on, when you move positions, let that relaxation come in, and then you're going to lengthen that leg out to the side. Try to keep the pelvis stationary, so it's only the leg that moves. Only go as far as comfortable for you. If the elbow can make it to the ground, great, or you may need to bring your hand lower onto the leg and maybe behind the leg to help support the weight of the leg. And lift the leg up pretty high towards the wall behind you and allow that to come in. And then if you'd like, you could take the hand onto the hip bone, making sure you're stabilizing the right side of the body. Deep breaths here. So I'd like to also say that when we do have that muscular contraction, that chronic muscular contraction inside of our body that happens during the time of stress, we may not be aware of it. When the muscles contract, they utilize internal energy. So there can actually be zapping our stored energy or energy reserves in our body, which can contribute to fatigue. And many people are feeling tired. And so it could be in the background, the contracted muscles that are utilizing that energy in the body. It's a really nice raised awareness piece I'd like you to bring into your field of awareness to realize that you need this release. We need to release, we need to let go. Let's bring the leg back up to center and take the outside of the left knee in your hand. Place the top of the foot on the thigh. Now this is something I didn't mention on the other side, but I'm going to mention here. If you have a posterior hip replacement, this is focusing on the posterior hip capsule. So be careful, be in your body, feel what feels appropriate to you. I happen to have that on this side, so I'll be in total awareness here. Then you're going to add that twist to the right. And when you do, it's space in the left waist. Keep the left shoulder blade on the floor. Go into the twist just a little bit, and then allow that relaxation to enter your body. So notice as you go in at first, the body is so keeping you safe. There's so much protection that's happening in the body. And then you could come to a place where you're like, let it be on the exhale that you let go of that tension. Keep the shoulders on the floor, keep the lower ribs on the floor, and then create that space in the waist. Feel that tension in the glute side, lateral chain of the left side of your body. Always creating space, softening with the exhalations so you can allow the relaxation. And when the relaxation comes in, there's a release of holding and of tension. Let's truly make this be a yoga practice for wellness, releasing internal stored stress in the form of muscular tension, in the form of constantly eating your energy, utilizing your energy. You could close your eyes, allow your exhales to be relax. Use the word relax to come into your tissues. And then with each exhale, create more space in between the top of the left pelvis and the left lower ribs. Take one more breath. On your next exhale, go ahead and bring yourself out of that. Let's take our knees into a bent position, push your feet into the floor, lift your body up off the floor. Just notice how you feel right now. Notice if there is a calm aspect to your body, because this can have a relaxation stimulation to the body and stimulating the parasympathetic branch of the nervous system, which allows that relaxation to come into the body. And when you are in this place, that's where your body shifts its focus from protection and the need to run and get away to the need to repair and to restore. So building new cells, cleaning up degenerative old cells. Let's take the feet to be the width of the mat. Actually, let's take the feet so that the heels are on the mat and the toes are off. So there's a slight external rotation. Then bring the arms out to the side, palms are up towards the sky. So we've been doing a lot to warm up the hip area and the low back and the rotational muscles. Let's go a little bigger with this here. Try to keep the entire rib cage on the floor as you do this. Inhaling over to the side. Exhale, start that contraction in the core. So like a sea anemone, drawing inward and then pressing towards the belly as you bring the legs back in. Inhale to release, soften, let go of everything. And exhale, contracting the core to come back to center, protecting that midsection of the body. Go slow here. Feel the yumminess in this. Starting to go a little deeper down the legs, stretching the hip flexor, the rectus femoris, one of the quadricep muscles. So feel this in your body. The next time you come over to the left, you're going to stay there. Stay here. Allow this to be in your body. Feel that there's space between the right low ribs and the right waist. Reach your right arm away from you. Flex the wrist. Fingertips touch the floor. Heel of the hand reaches away from you. And the knee reaches away from you. Lengthen, lengthen, lengthen. Take one more breath. And then exhale to bring yourself back to center. Pause here for a second. This is one of my favorite positions to do. I think it feels yummy and delicious. A lot of what we've done today so far, including this, is a great thing to do while you're in your bed in the morning when you wake up. Let's inhale over to the other side. So legs go to the right. And when they arrive, allow them to arrive and allow them to release. And then lift the left hand off the floor, flex the wrist, move the heel of the hand away from you as you lengthen out the left side of your body. Lengthen. Find that length in your body as much as you can. Stretching your tissue, releasing stored, held tension in the muscles and in the tissue, creating space in your joints for more range of motion. And then there's a deeper aspect of that protection that the body has when it feels that it's threatened or stressed. There's a laying down of protection, which eventually hardens in the body. So releasing that which one day could become like a shell and hard. Take one more breath. And then bring yourself back to center. Just notice how you feel here. Let's push the feet into the floor, lift the body off the floor. We're going to come into a nice flowing bridge sequence here to bring some strength to the posterior chain of the body, to undulate the spine. And let's take a block, putting that between the knees. This turns on the supportive aspects. It begins with the adductors, moves into the pelvic floor. So the whole center midline alignment parts of the body. This helps to reinforce the support, having something between the knees. So you do need to have nothing behind your head because we are going to lift ourselves up. Take your hands and lengthen the back of your head so your chin comes down towards your chest. The back neck gets nice and long, and you place your head on the floor. Take your hands down alongside your body. And then keep your feet not too close to your body. So in the beginning of this, I'd like you to not be too far. And when we do lift our body up, try to only lift up to about the lower ribs. So let this be more about the hamstring, glute, low back strengthening of the back of the body, and the undulation in the lumbar spine and the sacrum and tailbone. Because we're going to lift up and we're going to move our neck side to side and try to free up some tension in the head and neck. So I don't want you to bring too much of your body weight up. So let the feet unbend the knees one at a time so your feet stay relatively far away from your body. You haven't walked them closer yet. You're going to squeeze the block. Keep your feet block distance. So don't let the feet be wider than the body. Press your feet into the floor. Let the low back come to the floor. So tilting the pelvis, squeezing the block. Feel the low back touch the floor. And as you inhale, thumb leads the way, palm faces inward. Lift the hand up, lift the pelvis off the floor, and rotate your head to the right. So only coming off the floor to the lower rib area. And on the exhale, you slowly lower down. Slower is harder. It's going to be more muscular action. So this is a great way to develop low body strength. Inhale to rise, palm faces inward, thumb leads away, head rotates to the left, exhale to lower. Close your eyes here. Inhale, lifting the body off the floor, leading with the left thumb, head rotates to the right, exhale, lower. Inhale to rise. Peel your spine off one vertebra at a time. So when you're down, begin by pressing the low back into the floor, tailbone points towards the wall away from you, and then peel your spine off the floor as you lift up, rotating your head to the side. Tailbone moves away, lengthening the spine, and then adding that lift. Keep moving, matching breath with movement. Inhale to rise. Exhale to lower. Inhale to rise. Exhale to lower. Inhale, rise. Exhale, lower. One more time, each side. Bring yourself down and keep your hands down this time. Let the low back touch the floor. Tailbone reaches away from you, and just gently lift your pelvis up a little bit here, halfway maybe, or maybe not quite halfway. So we really stay active in the glutes and the hamstrings. The feet are on the floor. The knees are reaching away from you. The tailbone is pointing towards the wall away from you. Lengthen the back neck. You're only having your pelvis off the floor, the low back off the floor, maybe the lower ribs, the first couple of lower ribs, the rest of the rib cages on the floor.
And feel this, a lot of work here in the glute area, hamstrings, back of the body. Thumbs are up towards the sky, palms are facing inward, and then actively press the arms into the floor. So there's a little activation and support in the upper back. Take 3 more breaths here. And then let's go ahead and place 1 vertebra at a time down when you come down, with awareness, with length in your spine, with nice articulation in each joint of the spine. We're going to come into our full bridge pose here. So you're going to move your feet closer to your body. For some of you, maybe the heels are so close you could actually touch them, and they're actually intersecting the center of the glutes. Lengthen the back neck. Let the low back touch the floor and the tailbone is pointing up. Squeeze the block, hands are down alongside the body. And then let's begin to squeeze the tushy, squeeze the block. Start to lift, peel the back off the floor, 1 vertebra at a time. When you come midway, start to tuck the outside of the flesh of the arms closer towards the center of the spine. The shoulder blades go towards the spine, and you reach under to clasp your hands. And then you continue to lift by squeezing the block, contracting the glutes, and reaching the knees away. The chest moves up towards the chin, the back neck is nice and long, and you feel the weight going into your upper back, not the head or the neck. Use the shoulder blades to press into the upper rib cage to add as much extension as possible, firing up the muscles of the back. And then if you're unable to clasp your hands, you could press your arms into the floor, pressing the arms into the floor to help lift the weight of the ribs and the torso off the floor. Squeeze the block, the knees move away from you. So adding this strength into the body, into the back of the body to be supportive, to hold you up, to support the spine, the movements of our body. Bring your awareness to the back of the body to feel that. Take 1 more breath. And then when you come down, go slow. So you're in an extension position in the spine. We want to come down, trying to come through flexion by pressing 1 spine bone from above. Press from above and press your vertebra 1 at a time towards the floor. Feel yourself going through your whole rib cage. When you come towards the bottom of the rib cage, lift your heels off the floor so you could posteriorly tilt, trying to place the low back onto the floor before the pelvis touches. Adding flexion in the lower lumbar, stretching the vertebra, articulating the spine, moving those fluids of the vertebral discs through the body. When you come all the way down into the floor, let's come into a supported bridge pose. Let's take the block and place the block underneath the pelvis. And here again, try to place the top ridge of the pelvis onto the block, and then allow the sacrum and the tailbone to make their connection. So another way to work on symmetry in the pelvis. And for those with asymmetry in their pelvis, which I have because of my surgery, you could feel one side stretching more than the other as you try to place the back of your pelvis on this solid structure, and it's stretching the pelvis. So notice what you notice here. Press your heart up towards the sky. This is now the opportunity for the heart. So this is yoga for the heart, creating wellness internally in the body, bringing more fluids up to your heart, giving your heart a break. You could stay here, or if you'd like to make this a bigger inversion, you could bring your feet up right above your pelvis, and the knees could be bent here. The fluids to come from the toes all the way down to the pelvis, from the pelvis to the heart, to the throat, to the brain. And the sensory aspects of the body are sensing this increased pressure and volume of fluid. So this is actually relaxing for the heart. The counterindication is for those with uncontrolled high blood pressure should not do this move. So as long as you have controlled blood pressure, you're okay. And in my studies in India right now with my teacher, they mentioned that the incidence of heart disease is greater in females now than it is in males. And that is crazy because it always was more males than females. And now they're, at least in India, in the hospital he works in, they're noticing more females with heart conditions. Bring your awareness to your belly here as you bring your breath. Stay connected here on your mat with your body. Allow the sensation of the weight to waterfall towards the heart. You could add a visualization of water, like a waterfall from the legs and this beautiful pool of water near the heart. A body of water, it could be a beautiful blue lagoon with the sun rays beating through the water, warm. Take one more breath. And then bending the knees, bring the legs one at a time down towards the floor. If you'd like to come into a fully extended position here, to stretch your body glove in this position, in an extension position, you could see if this feels okay for you. You could take the arms overhead. It's not for everyone. A lot of stretch over the anterior hip joint here, and then feel those low ribs moving away from the top of the hip bone, stretching your body glove yet again. Breathing to your belly. And then let's go ahead and bend our knees. Press your feet into the floor, and then let's lift the pelvis off the floor. Take your blanket and bring your blanket back underneath your head. Some of the poses we've done today are some of the basic poses in the practice of yoga. The Apanasana, or knee to leg position, is one of them. You could also do that with both knees in. Actually, let's bring both knees in now, moving the back and forth, side to side. And then the bridge position that we did a couple of different aspects of that, lifting our arm and rotating our head. That extension position, the spine is very therapeutic. And then the legs elevated, either having the pelvis on the block or the legs in the air. The inversions are also therapeutic when it comes to our physiology and helping to regulate some of those internal body systems, respiration, circulation. So let's take our strap. I'd like to stretch our feet and our calves. Let's bring the right foot in and place the strap on your foot. So try not to lasso it. We did a lot to articulate the knee and the hip. So hopefully you're able to get close to your toe and actually touch your toes to make sure that you could still put your socks on, put cream on your feet, and cut your toenails. For those of you that have sleep issues, a really nice thing to do is to rub lavender infused oil on your feet at night. It can really help have a deep sleep. You could keep a pair of socks that are your favorite nighttime bed socks, and rubbing lavender oil could be really a nice thing. I think I'm going to try to remember to do that tonight. All right, let's take the strap around the right foot. Keep it in the arch. And then you're going to do a little articulation of the ankle joint. So I'd like you to, the kneecap stays pointing back. You're going to pull on one strap and then pull on the other, so that the movement is in the ankle joint, not in the knee joint. So try to see if you could feel that articulation isolated down in your lower leg. You may feel it's in the calf area. Not sure where you're going to feel it, but I'd like to get some movement, mobility in your feet here. Very important to do this. It feels delicious to me, so I'm hoping that you're able to get this. And then let's take the strap, bring the strap to the widest part of the foot, and put a slight bend in your knee. So you'll notice that this is a slight bend. I don't want you to come into a crazy bend. You're going from a straight knee to a slight bend in the knee. You pull the strap towards you, inhale, and as you exhale, unbend the knee, inhale to bend, exhale to unbend. It's very minimal. You unbend and you bend. It's a very minimal movement here. Maybe you'll hear some release of tension or air in the joints. Come into a straight leg for a breath. And then go ahead and bend. Let's do the other foot. Take the other foot into the air. Keep this foot on the floor. And we're going to keep it in the middle of the arch. The kneecap stays pointing back. Nothing moves from the ankle below, or actually the mid ankle. You're going to take your back and forth. So you feel the ankle joint, side of your leg, foot area stretching. We articulated the knee joint and the hip a lot today and wanted to bring that movement down into the foot and to the ankle. So that when you do get up off your mat today and start to walk around, you probably will feel real fluid movements in your body, as all of the parts of your body, the joints that are responsible for moving you around, have been stretched, lubricated, or released. All right, let's bring the strap up to the top part of the foot. So we took the traffic off the freeway today in this practice. Slight bend in the knee. It's the center of the heel that reaches up towards the sky as you unbend. Slight bend and then unbend. And it is a really deep stretch in the back of the thigh, so be appropriate here with yourself. And then come into the straight leg. And then go ahead and unbend. Let's take the strap down. Let's do a little bit for the wrist today. So take your wrists at first and let's shake, shake, shake your wrist. Shake, 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 shake. Then you're going to keep this arm straight and you're going to bend the wrist. Take your hand and pull or push the hand towards you. So the arm is straight. The arm is straight. I think you can see that. Yeah, the arm is straight and you're pulling towards you. So make sure it's not just your fingers you're bringing towards you. It's the back of that hand, stretching the top part of the forearm. And then you're going to make like a stop sign so the palm faces up towards the sky. You may need to bend the elbow at first to bring your other palm on top, and then try to keep that arm straight as you draw the fingers towards you. Feel that stretch in the lower part of the wrist area, keeping that articulation in the wrist and the stretch in the wrist joint, which is important. Let's come over to the other side, bend that wrist. Allow that shoulder to be relaxed. Allow the arm to relax when you do this. And then let's come to the other. So your hand is on the arm and your arm is straight. So really keep that arm straight. You should feel a beautiful stretch here. I say beautiful because I think it is beautiful. It feels good. It feels yummy. And go ahead, shake your wrist out. Let's come into a happy baby position. So you bring your knees wide. You bring your soles of your feet up towards the sky. Your hands are behind your thighs. Stay there and move your body back and forth, side to side. So believe it or not, it is time for Shavasana. Take your ankles, roll them around in circles. And then you're going to prepare for your Shavasana. So you could put your legs up the wall or put something underneath your knees, or you could come into the traditional Shavasana pose, which is a fully extended body. You could put a blanket behind your head if you'd like. Palms are up towards the sky. Let's allow the integration of whatever we did today to come into our body. Whatever needed to be released, released. Whatever needs to be relaxed, relaxed. Bringing your awareness to your breath. Let go, let go, let go. Feel the back of the body and the floor. Stay connected to your breath. So gently begin to deepen the breath. And start to wiggle your fingers and your toes. And then bend one knee at a time, bringing the knees into the chest, rocking onto your right side. Open up your hand on the floor in front of you. Look down towards your hand. Really push the hand into the floor so that you use the muscles of the upper body to lift yourself up. Coming into a seated position. Bringing the hands together. We'll close the practice with sound. The sound the letter M. Feel the lips vibrate. Take the hands together. The thumbs touch the sternum bone. Find that length in your spine. Find the length in the back of the neck. Slightly tuck the chin down towards the chest. Take a deep inhale all the way down to the lower belly. At the end of the practice, we bow to each other in Namaste. Namaste. So I hope that you feel good. That was a great practice to release, to lubricate, to get rid of stored tension in our body that we either know exists there or not, and to work on our overall well-being or our wellness, which hence the name Yoga for Wellness. All right, where are my glasses? There they are. So I'd love to hear how you feel. Nice and slow and steady wins the race, which is a really important aspect of the practice of yoga for me, the physical and all the other parts of the practice. So I'd love to know how you're feeling, if you're still awake. Yeah. It's nice to be practicing again, isn't it? It's so important for our body in ways that we can't even understand. There's so many depths to the why behind this practice and the benefits of this practice for us. So thank you so much for coming. Good. Great, Claudia. Nice to hear that. Thank you so much for joining me. This is my first week, and the way that I structure my classes is 8 weeks on, 1 week off. So this will be our next 8 weeks together. There's 5 classes a week, 2 yoga for osteoporosis classes, this yoga for wellness. I have a chair class coming up soon, and then my yoga for stress reduction on Saturdays. I'm also working on programs that I'm going to be sharing in 2021. I sent a newsletter about that. There's more to follow. There's yoga therapy programs where you can develop a life practice. I'm not even going to call it a home practice because it needs to be a life practice. And then also in my health coaching space, I am a functional diagnostic nutrition practitioner, and I run functional labs that can really help to get to the root cause of many of the dysfunctions in our body, in many systems in our body: digestion, detoxification, hormone, and a lot of systems in the body. So more to follow in 2021. I hope 2021 is a great year for us all and for the world. So thank you so much for practicing with me. Let me see what was said here. Good, Nancy. Rosemary, great. Carolyn, you're welcome. Micro movements, yeah, Dr. Lippman. Micro movements throughout your day. So hopefully some of what you learn here will be that, and then that's what my programs I'm going to be creating are specific micro movements according to your needs. Micro movements and micronutrients. Good. Perfect. Happy birthday, Martha. Welcome to this next decade. And I hope you all feel great. I will see you all in my next class, wherever that is, or whatever it is, class, program. I also have a bone health
4-week interactive workshop coming up on January 19th. That begins 4 Tuesdays in a row, and it's 2 hours each day. It's on Zoom, it's interactive, and it is the focus is on bone health, and it's on developing your own practice, and there's also nutritional aspects. So many people liked the last class, which was week 4, which talked a lot about the nutritional aspects of bone health and all of our health, their whole health. Anyway, all right, I'm off because I've got another class I got to prepare for. I will see you guys when I see you. Thank you so much for joining me. Have a beautiful Wednesday. Bye.